Commander Jakar's antennae twitched as the derelict vessel appeared on the scanners. The ship tumbled through the void like a forgotten toy, its hull scorched and pitted by centuries of micrometeor impacts. According to the database, it was a human colony ship, launched nearly 400 standard cycles ago, long before humanity had joined the Galactic Council. Life signs? Jakar asked, mandibles clicking skeptically. One, his navigator replied, compound eyes widening in disbelief. Impossible, but confirmed. One life sign. The boarding team approached cautiously, cutting through the airlock with plasma torches. Inside the ship was a tomb. Cryopods lined the walls like crystalline coffins, each containing a perfectly preserved human corpse. The life support had failed decades ago. 347 pods, 347 failures, except one. They found her in the observation deck, sitting cross-legged before the panoramic window, watching the stars drift past. She didn't turn when they entered, didn't startle at the hiss of their environmental suits. She simply continued staring into the infinite dark. Human? Zakar ventured, translator humming. Captain Sarah Chen, she replied, her voice raspy from disuse but remarkably steady. United Earth Colony Ship Perseverance, day 142,716 of active duty. She paused, or thereabouts. I stopped counting precisely around year 300. The team exchanged glances. 300 years, awake, alone. Your cryopod malfunctioned? The medical officer asked gently. Sarah laughed, a sound like wind through a canyon. Malfunctioned? No, it never engaged. Faulty seal. The ship's AI tried to wake the crew, but the cascade failure had already begun. By the time I realized what was happening, it was too late. Everyone else was already gone. She finally turned to face them, and Jakar recoiled slightly at her eyes, ancient, impossibly weary, yet still somehow burning with consciousness. The AI itself degraded after 70 years. After that, it was just me. How did you survive? The medical officer pressed, scanner trembling in his appendage. Your provisions, hydroponics bay, recycling systems. I became quite the engineer out of necessity. She gestured vaguely toward the ship's interior. Also quite the gardener, plumber, electrician, and psychiatrist. Though I'll admit my patient was a difficult case. Shakar's translator struggled with what might have been humor. You maintained your sanity? Alone for 3 centuries. Sarah stood, joints cracking audibly, and walked to the window. Sanity is a flexible concept, Commander. I had routines. I kept logs. I read every book in the database 7 times over. I learned 15 languages that no longer exist. I composed symphonies that no one will ever hear. I wrote poetry to the stars. She pressed her palm against the cold glass. And I waited. Because that's what humans do. We endure. The medical officer's scanner beeped frantically. Commander, her cellular degradation, it's remarkable. She should be dead 100 times over. Organ failure, neural degradation, bone density loss. And yet, Sarah interrupted softly, here I stand. The human body is more adaptable than your databases suggest. Pain teaches you what you can survive. Loneliness teaches you what you can become. I learned both lessons very, very well. We need to get you to a medical facility, Jakar insisted. The Council's best physicians. We'll find nothing wrong that time won't eventually fix, Sarah said. I know my body better than any scanner. I've had 400 years to study it. She turned fully to face them now, and something in her posture made the hardened patrol team unconsciously step back. Do you know what I learned, Commander, in all those centuries? I learned that humans are not special because we're strong, or smart, or particularly resilient by galactic standards. We're special because we're stubborn, absurdly, irrationally, magnificently stubborn. She moved past them toward the airlock, her gait showing hints of grace beneath the weight of centuries. I learned that a human can count every rivet in a ship. Twice. I learned that loneliness doesn't kill you. It transforms you. I learned that consciousness, that precious, terrible gift of awareness, can persist long past the point where any reasonable being would simply choose to stop. Jakar followed, his team trailing behind like uncertain shadows. What will you do now? Sarah paused at the threshold between her prison of 4 centuries and whatever lay beyond. A smile crossed her weathered face, genuine despite everything. Commander, I'm going to walk on a planet. I'm going to eat food I didn't grow myself. I'm going to have a conversation with someone who actually answers back. Her eyes gleamed with something that might have been tears, or might have been starlight. And then perhaps I'm going to teach your medical teams what human endurance really means. Because if I survived this, if I remained human after all this time, then your databases need updating. As they guided her to the patrol ship, Jakar watched her pause one final time, looking back at the Perseverance. Aren't you glad to leave it? He asked. Glad? She considered the word carefully. That ship was my hell, Commander. It was also my home, my teacher, my purpose. It made me into something more than I was. Something that could survive 4 centuries of absolute solitude and still remember what it means to hope. She straightened her shoulders, a gesture that suddenly seemed to carry impossible weight. I'm not glad. I'm grateful. There's a difference. As the patrol ship jumped to FTL, carrying humanity's most unlikely survivor toward the busy heart of galactic civilization, Commander Jakar updated his log. The entry would eventually make its way through every species in the Council. A story told in 1,000 languages, always ending the same way. Today we learned that humans do not break as we expect them to. They do not surrender when logic demands it. They do not fade when isolation consumes them. Instead, they wait. They endure. They count the days, and when the days become meaningless, they count the stars. And somehow, impossibly, they remain human. Perhaps that is what we should fear. Or perhaps that is what we should celebrate. Time will tell. Sarah Chen smiled as she looked through the viewport at the approaching station, its lights blazing against the cosmic dark. 400 years and the universe was still beautiful. 400 years and she was still here to see it. Still human. Still hopeful. Still impossibly magnificently stubborn.